Well, first of all, it's an honor to speak to such a large and distinguished group and to meet many friends here. And as I was looking around for an appropriate quote to begin with, my attention turned to one of my favorite writers, W.C. Fields. And the quote I would like to begin with, in view of choices and challenges for the church and spirituality present and future, is, as W.C. used to say, the future ain't what it used to be. Now, when we get around to discussing spirituality, I have to warn you that if you're over 30, this talk is probably going to make you uncomfortable. And you probably realize that I was chosen to give a talk at this to sort of balance things out. Somebody said that to me on the way in. You know, I'm the minority representative here, so I'm speaking from the back of the bus. And if you disagree with me, that's perfectly all right, but we'll at least try to approach this thing in a moderately objective way. But I warn you, if you're over 30, you may feel uncomfortable. Because when you're over 30, the future has its roots in something younger than you are. And when we look into the future, we begin to realize, some of us, that we have become, unfortunately and irrevocably, the old guard. No matter whether you consider yourself on the right or the left or progressive or regressive or what. Now, you're all getting old. Now, for a moment, let's take a look at just what do we mean by spirituality in this context. Spirituality is an individual's response to what they believe is the call of God, to the transcendent, to what have you. And in Christianity, this response is not only one of attention and prayer and recollection, it is also one of conversion, of love, not only of love of God, but also of love of neighbor. And it applies in all the religions of the covenant, a response of obedience to God's law. So Christian spirituality is a somewhat complex thing, although it can be summed up in very simple phrases in sacred scripture, especially the Gospel of St. John. And the phrase that I think of, the two, if you love me, keep my commandments, and if you would be my disciple, you must live in my word, you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. I think those two phrases give enough of a frame to Christian spirituality for us to continue our discussion. Now, when most of us speak of spirituality, we think of popular spirituality. There are people off on their own bat. There are in the contemporary church the spiritual descendants of the fathers and mothers of the desert. And they're on their own bat and they work it out with the Lord. But most of us schlep along in the general tide of things, and we become part of some phase of popular spirituality. And I don't use the word popular here in any derogatory sense.